From the milling lab, we wanted to step next door to the baking lab here at the Food and Agricultural Products Center. We're joined by Renee Nelson, our milling and baking specialist, to kind of set up a demo and talk about the end product a little bit. And you've got a demonstration here with some different loaves of bread. Why don't you just start off in general, telling us what you have set up here?
Okay. I took 3 different types of flour. I took bread flour, all-purpose flour, and pastry flour. And I baked them the same exact way. I followed the AACC method, the cereal chemistry approved method. And you can see the difference in what the protein level has in the different flours. This was bread flour. It usually contains 10.5%, higher maybe to 12% protein. And all-purpose could be 9.5 up to 11. Maybe it would stop at 10.5%. A lot of the mills have their own little standards. And this would be pastry flour having less than 9% protein. And it shows that the more protein you have, the higher, the taller loaf, the more protein a flour has, the more it can hold the gases that the yeast produce. Where you can see where the pastry flour doesn't have a lot of protein, and so as it rose, it can't hold together and it just collapses and falls apart.
And obviously with this loaf, there's some obviously differences right here in the top. Mm-hmm. And so
it kind of all relates to this gluten I've extracted out. So this was the gluten taken out of the bread flour. You can see how strong and stretchy it is, and that's indicative of having more protein. Where the all-purpose, there's still some stretch and strength, but just not quite as much as there is in the bread. And that's the one from the pastry flour. There's not a large quantity there, and you can tell by it's just not quite as strong. And that caused the holes in the top of the bread.
Okay. Now looking at the individual slices that you've made from loaves of bread here, what did they tell you?
You want long, elongated cells, kind of lacy and elegant cells. That means that the bread could stretch and hold together. One doesn't want lots of little tiny holes and thicker cell walls. It makes for a different eating experience and different quality.
Now, Renee, you've also baked some cookies for us, which I must say I'm pretty excited to take a look at. Using the different flours, tell us what we have.
Okay, so we have chocolate chip cookies, the Nestle Toll House recipe.
Classic recipe.
Yes, with pastry flour, this one, all-purpose flour, and bread flour. And it's more of an eating experience when one bites through. The bread flour cookies, they have the more gluten. They'll probably be crispier, a little tougher, chewier also. The all-purpose is probably what we're all used to eating. And the pastry flour will be very delicate, melt in your mouth, soft cookie.
So the pastry flour, is this sort of the ideal flour that companies would use? Mm-hmm.
Pastry flour would kind of be the gold standard to make cookies, but more and more we're seeing bakeries use all different types of flours to get a different type cookie, and so we're kind of getting away from that.
So it's kind of anyone's ballgame with whatever recipe they want to come up with to get the desired results?
Yes.
Okay. Renee, this is great information, but I have to say these are even better cookies. So thanks for your time today. Renee Nelson, our milling and baking specialist.